So your sperm is worth more than oil and could make you a billionaire. Succubi are real demons hunting for it, and you, like the Egyptian god Aton, can jerk your way to the seventh heaven. Your cheat code seeking ass is probably expecting something like this, am I right? Okay, so let's be serious this time. For some fucking reason, the entire conversation around semen retention always gets boxed into just two cringe-inducing options. One is the path of the gym bro type masculinity, comically disoriented, not knowing what the fuck to do with itself or why in this modern Kali Yuga. Usually it comes with blind worship of testosterone as some kind of idol, while ironically suffering from a chronic lack of it, though of course there is always a copy of Seneca or Marcus Aurelius on the shelf. The other is an even more cringe, inflationary pseudo-spirituality peddled by visibly traumatized individuals. Those gurus in crumpled jackets and beaded bracelets, hair tied up in a bun, greeting you with some idiotic words like namaste and forcing out a smile that looks more like a serial killer's creepy grin. This is the path of the ex-junkies or childhood traumatized new agers who've turned spirituality, in the vaguest, broadest possible sense, into their entire personality. It's the kind of neo-spiritualism that René Guénon called the enemy of true tradition, and it seems he might have had a pretty good reason for that. Nevertheless, Freemasons often point to a ton of historical examples where high-achieving figures really did embrace this kind of self-restrictive, Voltaire type sexless lifestyle. Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Voltaire, Beethoven, Sigmund Freud, and so on and so on. And while this practice does have some genuinely powerful spiritual and sometimes even physiological benefits, in my opinion, most people are just bullshitting and forcing their conclusion from both camps that usually try to analyze this topic. When I first started trying to understand how this actually works, I couldn't find a single straightforward, no-nonsense video that got to the point. One without all the crap about boosted testosterone and magically attracting girls, like the one I've decided to make. I myself am a master's student in antiquity and an Orthodox Christian. I also have a hobby of studying Western esotericism and occultism, which has also led me to one of the Rosicrucian lodges, with Freemasons, Martinists, and different eccentric magicians. But I have no illusions about magical orders. Just as priests study heresies in a theological seminary, I find it helpful at times to delve into heretical perspectives on the same issues, in order to nuance and detail my relationship with Orthodox dogma. I am constantly looking for and practicing new things that can improve the quality of my life and the lives of those around me. In fact, the whole self-help industry of new thinking is built on this. And yes, I also jerked off like a fucking idiot as a teenager, also had sex outside of marriage, kept a useless No Nut November, but only recently realized the benefits of real desexualization of the brain. For a long time I had no clue what abstaining from ejaculation was actually supposed to give me, why I should even care, or how the hell to break free from a compulsive masturbation habit, all because of the overwhelming flood of conflicting opinions. And let me tell you this, guys, I used to be skeptical too, but deciding to desexualize my mind has turned out to be one of the best decisions of my entire life. First of all, get this straight. Profane, non-spiritual no-fap is utter garbage for idiots. Deranged pseudo-masculine schizos think that not jerking off somehow boosts their hormones and makes all the girls magically want them or some other delusional crap. In reality, your testosterone levels drop back down just a week into abstinence, so yeah, it's pure dumbassery. The kind that can even land you with stagnant prostatitis if you're not careful. As my priest says about fasting, if someone chooses to do it willingly, they'll benefit from it. But if you force them, they'll end up getting sick. So the point isn't to just go back to jerking off or to swell up with lust until you're red in the face and your veins are popping. The point is to genuinely want to break free from this endless dopamine-driven samsara of porn after school or work, or even first thing in the fucking morning. It's true, the Taoists have a saying that one lost drop of semen equals the loss of 5,000 drops of blood, or something like that. And the Freemasons also believe masturbation has a negative effect on your physical health. But here's the thing. From the perspective of secular science, that is not true. Profane nofap can even lead to harm. What's actually happening is that the spiritual and the material are always in a state of mutual diffusion, constantly interpenetrating and influencing one another, in line with the Hermetic maxim as above, so below. So real spiritual work, done with actual spiritual goals, will eventually begin to radiate outward and affect your material reality too. Which means, yes, your body can become healthier, but only as a result of a long chain of interconnected consequences. For example, maybe you become more disciplined, start focusing on constructive things like your fucking diet or your relationships, or start touching grass, engaging with people around you, putting time into your personal business or career or some other kind of meaningful pursuit. Through that, your hormonal balance improves, which helps your immune system, and that is how it ends up benefiting your body. But not directly, not automatically. If your brain, poisoned by the porn industry and degenerative capitalist modernity, somehow got the shitty idea that you can reach serious spiritual goals without nofap, that let me remind you of something. The prohibition against lust, meaning both masturbation and casual sex, exists in every major tradition. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, all of them warn against it. Esoteric paths like Gnosticism, Sufism, Freemasonry, and Western ceremonial magic all emphasize the transmutation of sexual energy. You see it in yogic and tantric practices, in alchemy, in the sacred role of sexuality in shamanism, and countless pagan cults. If there is anything at all that unites all world religions, it's the deeply reverent attitude toward sexuality as something profoundly sacred. Wherever you look, you'll find some form of prescription urging you to abstain from aimless, profane sexual activity, from letting your dick drag your soul through the mud. Coincidence? I don't think so. Even the history of psychology isn't free from this line of thought. Any educated person has at least heard of the concept of sublimation in psychoanalysis, the redirection of sexual energy into a higher and creative pursuits. No matter what you call the product of this kind of spiritual asceticism, be it prana, chi, philosophical sulfur, or the alchemical fire, the essence is that you gain a certain life force and energy, different from the strictly physiological and scientifically measurable kind. Obviously, this doesn't work like Red Bull or cocaine, and now I'll explain how I personally see it. Let's say there are two different kinds of fatigue. The first kind is strictly physiological. Imagine you are walking home after a grueling boxing workout, or after running 20 kilometers, or staying awake for 2 days straight. This kind of tiredness is different from the second type. To illustrate the second one, imagine you sleep well, deep, healthy sleep, consume healthy amount of calories from nutritious food, maybe even live by the sea and occasionally go to the beach to relax, I don't know. But suppose every day you have to deal with a nagging, hostile, bitchy wife, disrespectful children, and at work an unreasonable, demanding boss and unpleasant colleagues. Inevitably you will accumulate a kind of fatigue that makes more sense to be called moral or emotional exhaustion. It happens when life brings you no spiritual satisfaction, tastes bland, and you have no desire or purpose to get out of bed in the morning. Everything feels somehow stupid, futile, pointless, and so exhausting because of that. There's no inspiration and as a result, no mental strength. You're fed up with everything. You are just done. The phrase dead social battery, for example, also fits perfectly here. So this kind of energy is one of the keys to successful realization of manifestation, popular in the modern New Age internet spirituality, and in general for living a balanced, successful, and in a broad sense healthy life. It's not just about stamina, but also about mana. By the way, mana is originally a term from religious studies, later adopted by video game creators. And in my opinion, it's a perfect fit for describing this. By abstaining from the button of cheap instant dopamine pleasure, meaning pointless ejaculation, you raise an energy capable of creating a new human organism, moving it from the lower chakras to the higher ones, and redirecting it towards more worthy goals, while at the same time boosting determination, willpower, self-control, inspiration, empathy, self-expression, influence on others, focus, creativity, and maybe even wisdom. Normies constantly worry about managing their stamina, but forget to manage their mana anywhere outside of World of Warcraft. Meanwhile, successful people manifest far more than just cheeseburgers, and it's their spirit that rejoices, not the parasites in their gut. As I've already mentioned, this kind of abstinence should be understood as a spiritual practice, not just mindless nofap or an attempt to boost testosterone, or worse, a way to attract the attention of unworthy women so you can switch from masturbating alone to fornicating with someone equally spiritually bankrupt. And by the way, casual sex with others can equally be even more spiritually dangerous than masturbation. During sexual intercourse, your souls intermingle. Mating and sexual activity with another person blend your psychic field and subtle etheric bodies, and this can lead to physical or mental illness, simply because you've spiritually bonded with someone absolute wreck of a human being, possibly for life. Telegony works both ways, though that's a topic for another video. If you're having trouble elevating ordinary physiological abstinence into a true spiritual practice, you can turn to a variety of supporting spiritual tools, though that will depend on your personal inclinations and the tradition you follow. This might include meditation, confession, fasting in a broad sense, not just dietary, prayer, various forms of asceticism, reading spiritual literature or sacred texts. Even watching fucking YouTube videos about reality transurfing, manifestation, and other modern second-rate self-help spirituality could be a place to start. Obviously, when we talk about the spiritual benefits of abstaining from masturbation and fornication, and we are not Taoists who see spiritual value in the physical semen itself, although it may also be reasonable, then the point isn't really about protecting the body from the mere act of ejaculation. If you happen to have a sudden relapse, or you experience a wet dream and a nocturnal emission, the key thing is to stay in a constructive, positive state of mind, or at the very least, return to it quickly. And believe me guys, when I'm on Dopa Mukuna, I can relate to any level of horniness, but everything is still achievable. So ejaculation and emissions, in my view, are secondary factors. The primary goal is to desexualize your mind to the point where you simply forget that pussy even exists in the world. No porn, no staring at strangers' skirts. You are the boss of your life, and you are the main quest. A girl, even if she throws herself at you and you are an alpha male, should always remain just a side quest. That is, if you decide to take on such a burdensome side quest at all. Of course, it goes without saying that Eros, as understood by the ancient Greeks, is a deeply multifaceted force. Your beloved partner, your special chosen one, can also be a powerful motivating factor, one that fuels the alchemical fire, as Plato describes in the Symposium. And from a neurochemical perspective, the hormone driving you into action doesn't always have to be ego-centered dopamine. It can also be oxytocin, which is comparatively more altruistic in nature. If you'd like to deepen your understanding of this kind of spiritual connection with your personal muse, I'd be happy to explore that further in the future, so let me know. But remember one thing, broskis. The wisest man in the entire Old Testament, King Solomon, fell because of lust. Erotic love is always the slipperiest slope, no matter how wise you may be. To wrap this up, just keep in mind, porn is free in today's world, but real success always costs some kind of effort. Like the prisoners depicted on the devil card in Arthur Waite's tarot deck, they are chained, sure, but the chains are so loose they could easily take them off, and yet they choose to stay bound, as if by their own will. I wish you better arcanas in your life, like the sun for example, but honestly from my point of view, the best thing you can possibly do is find Jesus Christ, that's the real deal. If you'd like me to speak more on how to fight off temptation when it attacks, or dive deeper into any spiritual aspects of your sexuality, just let me know in the comments, I am open to your feedback. But anyway, thanks for your attention and good luck with your spiritual work, dumbasses. Peace.